Talk boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It appears that Matchroom's most recent signee, or at least one of them, Beatriz Ferreira, Brazilian Olympian, Brazilian silver medalist.
She made her professional debut on the undercard of Montana Love versus Steve Sparks.
And she fought for 4 3-minute rounds. You heard that right. 4 rounds, 3 minutes apiece. As the debate rages on as to whether or not the women boxers should be allowed to fight for 3 minutes just like the guys, Beatriz...
She's already been there and done that, and she's scheduled to make her ring return before the year is out against Carice Brown.
I didn't get the chance to talk about my initial impression of Beatriz, but she blew me away. She has the look of a far more experienced professional boxer than she actually was. She took on an unbeaten fighter.
She really looked the part.
She took on unbeaten Tana Cardozo, who sported a professional record of 5 wins, no losses, and no draws ahead of that fight. And Beatriz just dished out her first professional loss. And here she is fighting yet another experienced fighter, more experienced than she is, in Carice Brown.
Everything you look for in a blue-chip prospect was there for Beatriz. The quality of movement, the range of motion, sharpness, power.
Shot selection, she looked right at home.
That fight was more or less a super featherweight contest. Super featherweight, that's 130 pounds. That's where Alicia Baumgartner is coming very close to becoming that division's undisputed champion. I don't actually think that Beatriz and Alicia will cross paths anytime in the near future.
Beatriz is just now debuting as a professional, making her bones and banking those rounds, garnering professional experience in the super featherweight division, where Alicia is on her way out, on her way up, I should say, as she's made it crystal clear. Beyond the upcoming Hyun Mi Choi fight in the first or second quarter of next year, she plans on moving up.
Looks to me like Beatriz Ferreira may be the heir apparent to the super featherweight throne, the super featherweight crown, in time, of course.
Of course, she's not on the eve, not on the cusp of fighting for an alphabet title, though given her amateur background and the fact that Matchroom seems to be fast-tracking her, that they've already gotten her another fight.
That was fucking fast.
Looks to me like by the time that Beatriz Ferreira is ready to fight for an alphabet title, Alicia Baumgartner may have already moved up in weight, moved up to the lightweight division, where Katie Taylor currently reigns as that division's undisputed champion, leaving the door open, the division wide open.
Leaving the division wide open for Beatriz to start going belt hunting.
It's an interesting signing for Matchroom, Beatriz Ferreira, because she's not native to the United Kingdom or the United States for that matter. When a big promotional outfit signs a fighter, the overall goal is to try to turn that fighter into a marquee attraction, try to turn that fighter into a draw. Beatriz Ferreira is a Brazilian national.
To my knowledge, Matchroom don't do shows in Brazil.
Though maybe now they plan to, since they have a Brazilian blue chip prospect. We'll see.
It's going to be interesting to see how Matchroom decides to market this fighter, because she's definitely got the skills, she definitely has the talent and the ceiling.
Though not necessarily the audience, that grassroots support. Kind of like what you saw from Katie Taylor when she debuted as a professional. Those who followed her amateur exploits, her Olympic run.
Situation's a little different with Beatriz Ferreira.
Who's going to be taking on Carice Brown. Carice Brown, who was given her first professional loss by Melissa Odessa.
More recently, Carice dropped a decision to Vanessa Bradford. That's the same Vanessa Bradford that Hyun Mi Choi very recently decisioned in South Korea.
Carice dropped a decision to Vanessa Bradford. Carice, who sports a professional record of 7 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 4 knockouts, having never been stopped, not yet.
4 knockouts, she can punch a bit.
And we'll see how she fares against Beatriz Ferreira. Personally, I don't like her chances. I saw that Melissa Odessa fight.
Melissa kicked her ass.
I think Beatriz Ferreira is about to, in what is only her second professional contest, only her second professional bout, taking on a fighter that's got, 9 professional bouts? 9 professional contests to Beatriz's 1.
They're pretty fucking confident.
They must be. I like what I see in Beatriz Ferreira. And I reiterate, I think what we're looking at here is the heir apparent to the super featherweight throne. You know, all the familiar faces, the familiar girls, they've moved up Natasha Jonas, Terry Harper. Very soon, Alicia Baumgartner may be moving up in weight. In that division, it's going to need a face.
An ambassador. Beatriz could be that face. She could be that ambassador.
As they match her against familiar faces, against familiar fighters. I wouldn't rule out a Ferreira versus Hamadouche fight somewhere down the line.
Ferreira versus Persoon.
Now that a larger portion of the boxing community is familiar with those two fighters, those two former champions, you'll know what they're all about. You'll know that those are stiff tests for an unbeaten up-and-comer like Beatriz Ferreira. But I think she's got what it takes. She has the skills. She has the pedigree.
For now, she's going to be returning to action next month on the undercard of Chocolatito versus Estrada 3.
With the financial backing of Matchroom, I'm sure that they can get young Beatriz in position to do big things, very big things, in the sport of boxing.
Look for this next month.
Men's super lightweight news, there were a lot of big stories that broke yesterday, and one among them is that former unified lightweight champion Teofimo Lopez is not going to be taking on Jose Pedraza, former champion Jose Pedraza, next month. Sandor Martin, Spain's own Sandor Martin, is going to be standing in his place, and this isn't even the first we've heard of this potential matchup, of this potential fight. Now, realize,
as reportedly, both men have now agreed to terms for December 10th in New York.
Story is that Jose Pedraza can't compete because he's out sick with COVID. This is an upgrade from that fight. More importantly, this is adequate preparation for what lies beyond that December 10th fight date for Teofimo Lopez should he win. Sandor Martin is a crafty southpaw.
And it just so happens that the plan is for Teofimo to match him against the winner of Catterall versus Taylor 2. Both of those guys are southpaws, crafty ones.
The plan is to match Teofimo Lopez against the winner of that fight, if he wins.
Can he, though?
Sandor Martin, native to Spain, those Spanish fighters like Sandor Martin, who upset the apple cart for Mikey Garcia in his big ring return. Spanish fighters like Kiko Martinez, who saw himself become EBU champion again.
Spanish fucking fighters like Mary Romero, who gave Amy Timlin her first professional loss, Maria Secchi her first professional loss.
Spanish fighters from Spain, from
España.
Could Sandor Martin upset the apple cart for Teofimo Lopez? Is this a potential banana skin? Sandor Martin, who sports professional record of 40 wins, 2 losses, only 2 losses in 42 fights, no draws, 13 knockouts, having never been stopped.
There's an air of spontaneity to this fight because Sandor's bread and butter ain't brute force. It's his boxing, it's his movement, his mobility, his sharpness.
It's a short notice opponent, Sometimes those short notice opponents, they can take you by surprise because you've already spent some time preparing for a different fight with a different fighter. Extenuating circumstances happen.
Now you're in there with a different guy, completely different guy.
Fight between Teofimo Lopez and Sandor Martin is set to go down in 3 weeks' time, a little over 3 weeks' time.
3 weeks' time. You were getting ready to fight an orthodox fighter in Jose Pedraza, a fighter who moved up from lightweight to super lightweight the same way that you did. That's what you were getting ready for. Now you're fighting a guy who's fully acclimated to this weight, but he's a southpaw.
Not an orthodox fighter like Jose Pedraza, a southpaw, a crafty one, and one who's pulled off a big upset at least once before, one who's seen action in the last 12 months. He was in action earlier this year in April in his native Spain against Mexico's own Jose Felix.
Teofimo Lopez has made his maiden voyage to the super lightweight division against Pedro Campas earlier this year.
Nice little shaking off the cobwebs fight, shaking off the ring rust, scored himself a nice little highlight reel knockout, technical knockout. It was a referee stoppage. He's the one who stopped the contest. But this is a very different fight with a very different fighter than that fighter was.
This ain't some old guy who's getting long in the tooth. This ain't some inactive guy that's got ring rust he needs to shake off. There's no angling here. There's no angle. It's just you and him.
On short notice at that. What makes this a dangerous fight for Teofimo Lopez, a potential banana skin, is that Sandor Martin is a moving target, a mobile guy,
and a defensive specialist. His bread and butter is his boxing, not brute force.
Teofimo Lopez, stylistically, Teofimo Lopez at his best is an educated counterpuncher that can exploit any defensive holes, any defensive lapses in judgment his quarry might make. He's not a come-forward aggressive pressure fighter. He's not a volume puncher. Teofimo, he's got power, he's got quickness and sharpness, but he ain't got volume.
It's really only 1 or 2 punches at a time, up until Teofimo actually lands hard, lands big and gets the guy hurt, he doesn't really pour it on.
So here you've got a guy who's looking for a window of opportunity to land something big, land something hard, and opposite the ring, that guy is a defensive specialist. A guy who makes himself a hard target, a moving target.
Kind of guy to ways, if you're looking for a window of opportunity to get off something big, that window may never open. That window, it may never come.
I know what you're telling yourself. You're telling yourself this ain't the first crafty southpaw that Teofimo Lopez will have faced. Did you forget the Vasily fight?
No, I didn't forget that fight, but that was against a featherweight who moved all the way up to lightweight. This guy ain't no featherweight.
This guy ain't no featherweight. This is a super lightweight, and in that Vasily fight, unlike in this fight, he had Joey Gamache in his corner to help him prepare. To my knowledge, Joey Gamache isn't cornering Teofimo Lopez's fights anymore.
Yeah, and he had plenty of time to prepare for Vasily With this guy, he's got, what, 3 weeks?
3 weeks. This is a short notice opponent.
For my money, this is easily a more intriguing fight than the Jose Pedraza fight would have been. And for my money, this is in many ways a more formidable, albeit
yeah, Jose Pedraza, he's plenty accomplished. He was a champion at super featherweight. He was a champion again at lightweight.
He's an accomplished guy. I won't take that away from him. But I think Sandor Martin can prove to be a stiffer test for Teofimo Lopez than today's Jose Pedraza.
This is an upgrade from a Jose Pedraza fight. As far as I'm concerned,
This is a better fight than that fight, man.
I have to say I'd be thoroughly impressed if this fight were to end in a highlight reel knockout the same way that some of Teofimo Lopez's previous fights have ended in highlight reel knockouts, as he's not really come up against too many defensive specialists. I mean, even Vasily Lomachenko, for all of his streamlined nuances, is mostly an offensively minded fighter with defensive capabilities, of course.
Yeah, he is, but Loma's more offense than defense.
He's a moving target. He's definitely a moving target, but he's a moving target within the pocket, within striking distance, whereas this guy's trying to put distance between himself and the other guy.
He's the kind of guy you gotta cut off the ring, catch up to him, pin him down, or try to.
In order to deliver your power shots, in order to get off those big punches, those really big punches.
Things just got a lot more interesting in December.
Just in the realm of potential banana skins, it has now been officially announced that Gervonta Davis will in fact be facing the Dominican Republic's own newly crowned WBA super featherweight champion, Hector Garcia, who sports a professional record of 16 wins, no losses, and no draws with 10 knockouts. Nice signature win over then unbeaten Chris Colbert.
Took the world by storm, shocked the world with how dominant he was over then unbeaten Chris Colbert.
Effectively out-hustling and out-muscling Chris Colbert. He couldn't keep Hector off, couldn't keep him out. Hector moved on from that, took on then WBA super featherweight champion Roger Gutierrez, won a unanimous decision against that guy.
And now he's supposed to be moving up in weight from super featherweight up to lightweight for a Gervonta Davis fight.
A nice steady schedule of activity for the unbeaten fighter, the unbeaten champion. He saw action 2 times last year, saw action again 2 times this year, so there's no ring rust or cobwebs that he needs to shake off, and he is riding high.
But are the people at the PBC courting disaster, putting Gervonta Davis in there with this guy who likely is supremely confident right now as he's hit his stride?
And is riding high. You know, Hector Gutierrez, he has some size for a super featherweight, standing in at about, 5'9"? Decent physical dimensions for a super featherweight, decent even for a lightweight. I don't think he'll feel out of place up there at 135 pounds. If anything, he might feel energized, invigorated from not having to cut down that extra 5 pounds. Might feel sharper, stronger.
Does he have the style for the job, though? That's the question. Styles, as they say. They do make fights.
They do. That's the way it is. The way I see it, people over there at the PBC, in light of this recent news that they plan on putting Gervonta in there with Ryan Garcia in April, they obviously don't want to jeopardize that with what's supposed to be a keep busy fight, a mean-in-between fight, mean-in-between time kind of situation. They don't want to jeopardize that fight with this one. The matchmakers are telling themselves that Hector's a super featherweight, not a lightweight, and Hector is a mid-range to inside fighter, not an outside jabber.
Not a stick and move, lateral movement, outside fighter, outside boxer. That's not his calling card.
This would be a battle of the southpaws, as Gervonta Davis is a southpaw, and so is Hector Garcia. They both seem to have the same sweet spot. They both like to work in the pocket. I will say Gervonta Davis is more the counter puncher than Hector is, though Hector's got some pretty good countering ability of his own.
Still, counterpunching is more Gervonta Davis's signature than it is Hector's.
Could Hector Garcia upset the apple cart for Gervonta Davis's plans to take on Ryan Garcia later on in the year in April? Well,
I'll be honest, I don't think that Hector is as big a potential banana skin for Gervonta as Sandor is a potential banana skin for Teofimo.
just me bouncing ideas around. Outside looking in, given the circumstances of Lopez versus Martin, that's a short notice fight.
Whereas this fight isn't. This isn't a short notice fight.
Given that Hector Garcia is a mid-range to inside fighter and a somewhat aggressive, spiteful puncher, Gervonta Davis may very well get the countering opportunities that he needs in the pocket to land big on Hector Garcia. And I'd say punch for punch, Gervonta might very well be a bigger puncher, bigger at least, than Hector Garcia.
Gervonta's power has come under question.
In some circles it has, because here you have one of the chinniest guys in the entire sport right now.
Gamboa.
Yuriorkis Gamboa, a guy who's hit the deck at least 20 times, at least 20 by my count. The guy suffered a torn Achilles tendon throughout the course of the match, and it took Gervonta Davis 12 rounds to dispatch him, 12 rounds to put him away. Not the best advertisement for what's supposed to be one of the biggest punchers in the sport, or at least one of the biggest punchers at lightweight.
So you know, maybe Gervonta Davis's power isn't everything it's made out to be, but I still feel to the eye that he's a bigger puncher than Hector Garcia.
And at minimum, he does seem a bit quicker to the draw, faster hands than Hector. So mid-range to inside, I think it would be Gervonta Davis that has the advantage.
No, I don't think that Hector Garcia is as big a potential banana skin for Gervonta as Sandor might be for Teofimo Lopez.
Say comparatively, there's a bigger element of danger in Martin versus Lopez than Davis versus Garcia.
Hector Garcia.
Look for that early next year.